As returning viewers may have pieced together by this point, I really love One Punch Man. It's my favourite anime, my favourite show, hell, it might even be my favourite work of fiction outright. And I've had a ton of fun making videos about it every so often. To give you a peek behind the curtain, the rankings I did on the episodes of the first 2 seasons were both edited and uploaded while I was away on a family trip. And I thought it'd be fun to keep that trend going. So whenever this comes out, you can just assume I'm away out somewhere. Problem being that I've already tackled all the main episodes and season 3 is seemingly still nowhere near release. All that really leaves are the OVAs, which I'm not nearly as passionate about, but I was still down to give them all a rewatch and make a quick little video ranking those. Both seasons of the show have 6 OVA episodes each, plus Road to Hero bringing us up to 13. And there's not nearly as much to say about most of them, so this should be very quick and easy. They're just supposed to be fun little one-off stories of no consequence and only half the length of your typical episode. They're not all that ambitious or noteworthy for the most part, so while I don't hold that against them, I also wouldn't expect to get nearly as passionately positive towards them as the better real episodes. Keep your expectations reasonable after all. They were never going to put something out on the level of unyielding justice for a bonus feature on a Blu-ray disc. And yeah, that's about it for introductions. Let's get into the ranking. And I still like the last place spots on the other rankings I've done for this show, so hopefully this will follow suit. Number 13, Puri Puri Prisoner and the Jailbreaking Prisoners. This episode sucks. I'm straight up not having a good time. Puri Puri is pretty easily the weakest link out of the main cast for me, which is a shame because I think the magical girl parody being a big burly man is a funny concept. It's just a shame that they decided to make him a sex pest as well. It makes it so much more difficult to enjoy the character when one of his most defining traits is that he gets sent to prison for assaulting men he finds attractive. Not a good look to have that on your most openly gay character. It's irksome in the real episodes he appears in, but they managed to dial it back enough to not tank them outright. In this one though, it's kind of the crux of the whole plot, where the bulk of the jokes are either innuendos or Puri threatening the escaped inmates with punishment, which is his way of saying he'll choke them out as he forcibly makes out with them, even while butt-ass naked. So you're not rooting for Puri to get the inmates back, not even with his noble goal of stopping this prison guard from losing his job. You'll never guess what the reason for that is. But at the same time, you're not rooting for the prisoners because they are barely characters. 11 minutes is not enough time to establish the whole group and get me to care about them. Speed Ascent Sonic also appears at one point and contributes absolutely nothing. About the only thing I kinda like about this episode on paper is the idea of the prisoners rooting for the monster and Puri mistaking that for support. But in the context of the scene, I can't really enjoy it. Not just because of what Puri is threatening them with if he wins, but because they do this really awkward reworking of the crowd cheering for Moomin Rider against Deep Sea King, except this time they're cheering for the sea folk to beat up the pro hero. And it just doesn't time the joke as well or have the dramatic stakes to back it up. The rest of the OVA is comedically flat and has some of the limpest action scenes ever. The first half of the episode is tolerable enough I guess, but by the second half it just goes straight to shit. When it isn't annoying, it's boring as hell and there's practically nothing to be gained from watching it. It's the worst thing to come out of the series by far, because at least the Monster Association arc's ending in the manga delivers on the spectacle side of things, and the shitty arena fighter can be fun in short bursts. Also, it has the Among Us rice cooker. Okay, rant over, the rest of these won't go on for nearly as long. Number 12, Genos and Memory Loss. Once you get past the kind of amusing inciting incident, you're left with every generic amnesia story you've ever seen. I can appreciate that they don't rejuvenate him with the cliche bonk to the head, and electric shock is more fitting, but that doesn't change this from being a super unengaging slog. It's comedically very weak, thanks in large part to how Amnesia Genos is more annoying than anything else. Fubuki is also in this and offers pretty much nothing of value. I can at least say it picks up a bit of steam towards the end. The monster here is kinda cool both in concept and in its fighting style. I liked all its elemental attacks, and the concept of a beast born out of the combined hatred of animals forced out of their homes is pretty sick. Too bad it's wasted on such a boring episode. The end where Genos is back to normal is kinda nice too. I liked him offering the game meat to Saitama as an apology, but then he can't even retract his insult he said when he was malfunctioning. That's kinda funny. Number 11, the sisters who have too many things happening. This is the only time we ever see Fubuki in the season 1 art style, probably. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, because any appearance she might have had in the proper season is not significant enough for me to remember. Fubuki's struggle in getting overshadowed by her sister is mildly compelling, but not really given a whole lot of room to breathe here. It feels like it should have been a full episode rather than trying to condense it into a shorter bonus one. For most of the episode, she's kind of annoyingly abrasive, and there's not much to really grab me otherwise until Tatsumaki steals her thunder and then she has a nice conversation with what's-her-face. Genos is also in this and offers, well okay, he's more prominent in this than Fubuki was in the last one, but he still doesn't have much going on. Not bad or anything, but far and away the weakest thing season 1 has to its name. Also they're on a train, which just reminded me I could be watching Bullet Train 2022 instead. Number 10, and Saitama and the mediocre ability users. Has a couple decent laughs with how pathetic these jobbers are. I actually think they have pretty good designs, getting across their powers while being fittingly unmemorable and bland. You can kinda tell where everything's gonna go pretty quickly though. And you gotta make some concessions with Saitama volunteering to train these guys and the Hero Association putting out an emergency warning for Earthworm Jim over here. Yeah, I don't know, it's mildly enjoyable I guess, but I also don't really care too much for it as a whole. Number 9, Road to Hero. This has to be the biggest surprise disappointment of the list. I remember this being so much better. Hell, going off my memory, this would have probably ranked in second place. I thought it was a nice glimpse into Saitama's past that gives solid logical explanations to questions that didn't really need answered. Not answering dumb questions with equally dumb answers like Solo, a Star Wars story, saying he got his surname because some guy gave it to him. I'd compare this more to something like Finding Dory. I would have never been bothered by not knowing how Saitama got his suit, but it's nice to have an explanation because I would have never believed he made it himself. And addressing the apartment he got kicked out of being what led to him moving to City Z makes enough sense. I don't think the rest of the episode has all that much to prop it up though. The story with this tailor guy is investing enough, I like Saitama's interactions with him and I wanted him to get his store back. It's also nice that the suit is a parting gift from him before he retires, giving Saitama something he actually likes after he wasn't too into the original design he gave him. Problem being the dude is never addressed before or after in the series as far as I can remember, so it doesn't feel like it leaves as much of an impact as it could. He's like the side characters of Monsters University. Has some nice scenes in the moment, but they don't stick with me as much because I barely feel like I got to know him and he never shows up again. I'm also super let down by the lack of action in this. By focusing on an early Saitama, we have the chance to see him struggle in a fight and have some actual tension, but every single fight happens off screen even when it feels like they're setting up a tough battle. Doesn't help that the design of the main villain sucks. I do not like the goldfish pervert look that I'm not even gonna risk showing in its entirety on screen. Still, it's a good twist and funny payoff when it turns out Saitama's shitty landlord was using the criminal gang as her main source of income, so there's that. In general, the episode has some good jokes and fun scenes. I enjoyed myself overall, but I don't think this can measure up to any other episode of the series, which is the only time I'm gonna make the comparison since it's the only full-length one. Not just in season 1, I think even season 2's low points exceed this. All the more power to you if you love this one. A lot of people on Letterboxd seem to, though I can't tell how many of them are rating this OVA on its own and how many are rating the show in general. Number 8, The Shadow That Snuck Up Too Close. I remember this one being mid all those years ago, but upon a rewatch I actually had a good bit of fun with it. Saitama watching a movie getting him paranoid about a stalker only for Genos to fill that role as he studies his master's daily routine is an entertaining concept, and it doesn't quite go too far to the realm of being all that uncomfortable. I like that he overanalyzes the french fry thinking Saitama's diet is the key to his power, and watches him sit there for 2 hours thinking it's an exercise when he's actually looking for the guy following him. I appreciate there's no big awkward scene where he finds out, just a moderately awkward scene where he asks the waitress where the one good french fry went. Instead he pins on this moisturizing cream guy, don't say it, don't think it, and takes him out in humorous fashion after the animators decide to lock in for him walking forwards. Nothing all that noteworthy here, just a solidly fun enough time. Number 7, The Murder Case That Is Too Impossible. A fun concept, just one that doesn't have the time it needs to properly flesh out a setup, means and motives for the suspects, or have too much time dedicated to the interrogations. This predates the King reveal in season 2, so him getting questioned and activating the King engine is so much funnier in retrospect. Tatsu being revealed as the killer isn't all that exciting. In fact, it's a bit weird that checking the cameras wasn't the first instinct to the genius leading the investigations, but they checked them quickly enough after, so it's whatever. The whodunit isn't the best part of this though. The why is so much better, with Tatsu getting blackout drunk because Saitama teased her. So he actually was responsible for the attack, even if indirectly. I also love Genos saying he'd testify for him in court. Yeah, this is good, I liked it. And I am very thankful that they do not go too far with gratuitous fan service in the hot spring scene. Considering some of the character designs and some of the illustrations in the manga, I admire the level of restraint they showed here. Number 6, the other murder mystery one. I am not reading that full title. Happy for you or sorry that happened. Rare season 2W over season 1 right here. I think this murder mystery has a much more engaging premise and setting, with way better pacing. The setup is much quicker and the smaller cast means that everyone individually gets to have their stories and whereabouts fleshed out better. And Child Emperor figuring out how everything happened is so much more satisfying of a conclusion than Zombie Man seeing the attack coming and Tatsu getting caught in 4K. And I'm so glad they don't play up the "oh my god, Zombie Man is dead" angle, since we already know he'd be fine. He just comes back immediately and is even made into a suspect. Everything here just feels so much better thought out than it did in the first one of these, even if the short length again leads to it not being one of the most engaging mystery stories I've ever seen or anything. That's fine, I'm not after something on the level of Memento or Knives Out or whatever else. This is a fun enough little mini story and that's all it really needed to be. Also, I could practice self-control with the last one, but this is a murder mystery where everyone is a suspect because the group thinks one of them has either been mind controlled or replaced with a shape-shifting monster. Sonic even goes under the floorboards at one point. I'm sorry, I'm only human. Number 5, going fishing with middle-aged men. Finally, they added a fishing minigame to One Punch Man. Honestly, I wish this entire thing was just bang and atomic vibing. That's when this one is at its best. The Moomin Rider and Chain Toad versus the big salamander side of things is fine enough. It's cool to see Moomin again, and I like getting to see him put himself on the line to save what he thought were civilians. Really though, I was much more hooked by the old geezers getting to talk about how time is catching up to them, how their students are getting on, and how the next generation of heroes will manage the increase in quantity and deadliness of monsters. I don't know why, since he's not a character I care about at all, but it made me really happy that they showed Iron pushing himself to be deadlier with one arm than he was when he had both. That was nice. As is Bang letting Atomic know about Saitama without being direct about it, praising his strength and saying that Atomic will know about him when the time comes. Shout out to the really sick sequence of Atomic cutting open the big lizard to save Chain Toad as well. The level of precision for him to pull this off is mind-blowing. Yeah, not amazing or anything, but a nice and charming little short. One of Season 2's better ones. Could have done without the last exchange though, where Atomic misgenders his trans student and Bang gets given a really quirky response. That kinda just left a bad taste in my mouth at the end. Number 4, the pupil who's an extremely poor talker. Geno's complete obliviousness in social situations can be kind of hit or miss sometimes, but this is definitely one of the hits. I love him wasting these goons' time completely unintentionally with a story full of pointless fluff just so he can give them the full picture. A good chunk of it is dedicated to him and Saitama in the spa, and that's just some fun slice of life stuff. I like how seriously he takes running the errands for his master as well, though he needed to back the hell away from that store worker. Don't harass retail employees, kids. For some reason, I completely misremembered the final battle. I thought they went for some big epic shootout with Geno starting around taking each member out one by one, and I thought it'd be way funnier if he just stood still through all the bullets and then one-shot them all. Turns out that's exactly what he did, and they naturally explain why he didn't fight back earlier since he thought they were law-abiding citizens who'd report the lost key to the police. As soon as he finds out they're criminals, it's on sight. Love the ending scene of Saitama and Genos having dinner as well, that's very charming. Why does anime food look so good? Number 3, the ninja who's too complicated. This is probably the best in terms of providing compelling character stuff. I liked seeing Sonic try to get over the trauma of the legendary ball punch. It's neat to see him trying to overcome it and slowly get better and better until he's able to face his fears head on and regain his confidence. This hunter guy's a nice enough companion for him, even if he sadly doesn't get any real payoff to his arc. And Ino's adorable. I have a soft spot for small cute animals, which definitely helped this one rank higher. If Saitama did end up killing him instead of the bear, then this probably would have dropped down at least 5 spots. I had less to say on this one than I thought. It's great. Honestly, the only one I'd recommend actively seeking out if you watch through season 1, since having this between episodes 4 and 6 gives you a better picture of how Sonic got his confidence back. Number 2, games and rivals. Didn't expect to see one from season 2 climb up this high, but this is a ton of fun. It's neck and neck with the Sonic episodes, and while this isn't even half as compelling from a character standpoint, I ranked it higher just for being that little bit more fun. To get my one gripe out of the way, Saitama's a little more arrogant than I'd like at the beginning, but he gets humbled real quick, and it's a solid comedic payoff. The rest of this focuses on the battle between Garo and Suiryu, something the show can't facilitate properly at this point, so they do it through a VR fighting game instead. Some parts have your typical season 2 animation flaws, but other parts genuinely look really damn good. And I'm happy they don't give us an actual answer to who would win between them. We don't really need that. Having the game be unable to process Garo's speed when he starts going all out, which causes it to glitch and make him lose, is a funny enough way to end it. And there's an even funnier ending where King throttles Suiryu while using a controller, outdoing him on the VR. This man can game harder than one of the world's strongest humans can fight. That's wild. This isn't deep or anything, it's just super fun. But it is outclassed by one other. Number 1, Bang who is too overbearing. When I tell you this is the freest number 1 I've given on a ranking in quite some time, I really mean it. The top spots on my season 1 and 2 rankings were still somewhat close. Unyielding Justice just slightly outdid the Boros episode, and the season 2 finale just slightly outdid the batch that preceded it. This though, there was never any competition. Never a doubt in my mind that this would sweep all of the others. Now this does have some bits of character work that I like. Saitama throwing himself in front of a truck when he thinks it's about to run over a cat, later managing to have fun and get really into the games that Bang plays with him, and Bang getting to reflect on training his students. There's some nice stuff in here, but what ultimately shot this up to the number 1 spot is just how consistently funny I found it. Genos taking some deep lesson away from Saitama telling him about the value of cabbage, and Bang being stunned that he could impart such wisdom, Saitama agreeing to show up at his dojo just so he'll leave them alone and then flaking on him, the various ways he and Bang take the respective victories in the games they play, all these top tier expressions, and my absolute favourite joke in any of these, Bang giving this big heartfelt heartfelt speech about the joys of learning martial arts, asking Saitama if he's interested in joining his dojo, and being met with a very disinterested, "No, not really," as the emotional music peters out on a close-up of the old man's face. Absolutely sends me every single time. It's on par with a similar joke in season 2, just perfect, no notes. I wish there was more for me to go into, but it really isn't that deep. It's as simple as this is really funny and you should go watch it immediately. I don't want to spoil every single joke and leave you nothing to discover for yourself. And that about covers all my thoughts on the OVAs. Well, kinda. I've talked about all the episodes, but I haven't mentioned my single favourite thing to come from them yet. The season 1 OVAs actually have a special ED that plays instead of the normal one, other than Road to Hero, which is treated like any normal episode with a theme song and ending. And damn it, I kinda love this. It might actually be one of my favourite songs in the OST. Not because it's the craziest composition with intense vocals or anything like that, but because they actually get the characters' voice actors to sing, and there's a different one for each episode. The first has Saitama, the second has Genos, the third has Sonic, the fourth gives Saitama another verse, which is about the only L the Bang episode takes over the others, the fifth is the Psychic Sisters, and then the final one has everyone together, with Moomin Rider My Beloved and King being added into the mix. This is the only appearance Moomin gets in the season 1 OVAs. I will gladly feast on these crumbs. One of the absolute easiest ways to appeal to me is by putting a musical number sang by the characters in a non-musical series. There's just something about it I find so endearing, which absolutely applies to this. Every time I listen to it, I am charmed to the heavens. It's also very easy to appeal to me by having a bunch of characters sing together as a group so that I can re-listen to it and try to pick out individual voices. And what do you know, they thought of everything. They made this for me and I couldn't be happier. So yeah, this song has wormed its way into my brain and it makes me do a smile. I like it a lot. Definitely would recommend giving it a listen if you're a fellow One Punch Man fan who somehow managed to go this long without listening to it all the way through. I think I might have listened to it the first time I watched the first OVA and then never again because I didn't know they changed it up with the others. What a fool I was. This song gets number 0 on the list. It's not an episode, but I don't care, my list, my rules. And there you have it, my ranking of the 13 One Punch Man OVAs. Overall, they were pretty enjoyable. Season 1 has a solid set of 6 that I quite enjoyed. Season 2 was more of a mixed bag, but overall leaning more towards the positive side, and same can be said with Road to Hero, even if I've fallen off it a bit. Even though it's been less overwhelmingly positive than my previous One Punch Man videos, I've had fun getting to talk about it again. As for what my next one will be, I need to finish the campaign first, but I could maybe put out a video on the arena fighter it got. That would be more on the negative side though, I'm not sure if I'd want to go through with it. I guess let me know if you'd be interested and I can keep it in mind. I'll probably also do 2 videos on season 3 when it comes out. One of my first impressions of the overall season, and then a ranking of the episodes sometime later. I'll probably also review the live action movie when it comes out, so you guys get to see me suffer. Until then, I'll sign off for now. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. See you later.